Welcoming everybody into class today. We'll start as usual by lying down on the back of the body, working to find whatever feels right for your body today. So rolling yourself down, and the options are to either have the legs extended or you can bring the legs into butterfly so that we start to get a bit of a hip opener here. And then the arms can either be down by your side, gently resting on the floor, or you could bring the arms out to shoulder height, having the palms of the hands facing up towards the sky. Or the other option is to bring the arms up overhead, perhaps taking hold of the elbows and gently releasing down into the floor. So just allowing the eyes to close, allowing yourself to become aware of the body, aiming to bring the mind into the body. Noticing what you notice about the body in this moment. Perhaps noticing tightness, tiredness, or perhaps there's a sense of ease. Observing the breath, noticing where the breath travels in the body. Noticing the gentle movements of the body that come with the breath. Noticing whether perhaps the breath is traveling all the way down into the belly. Just aiming to notice, not aiming to change the breath in any way, just aiming to observe, aiming to watch. You might perhaps notice that if the arms are up overhead, this creates a gentle restriction through the chest. It gives you less movement in the chest cavity, in the ribs. And so the breath is gently and kindly forced almost down into the belly. If the arms are in a different position, then just noticing what that's like and how that affects the breath. Often as we move through the day, we don't think much about the breath. We don't pay much attention to it. And it can creep up into the chest, into the top of the chest, creating a shallow breath pattern, often associated with anxiety, with the holding of tension. So our yoga practice is an opportunity to bring a little more awareness into the breath, to move the body, to stretch it and lengthen it, as well as to strengthen it. And in doing that, we are able to create a little more space and perhaps also able to deepen the breath, to allow it to more naturally return down into the belly, to allow the diaphragm to do its work. Gently inhaling, releasing the arms from overhead. If the legs are in butterfly, then using the hands to support the thighs as we draw the knees together, and then lengthening the legs out long, taking the arms back over the head and lengthening through the entire body. So working to stretch out, to lengthen through the spine, having a good morning stretch, that kind of stretch that you might have when you first wake up in the morning, even when you first get out of bed. Really working to lengthen the body, and then exhaling, just allowing yourself to soften and release down into the floor. Once more, inhaling, moving from one side to the other side, lengthening one side at a time. And again, noticing where you feel this length, this stretch in the body. And releasing. This time, interlacing the fingers, turning the palms of the hands to face away from the body, continuing to stretch the arms up overhead, and then pushing through the heels of the feet, flexing the feet. So, working to draw the toes up towards the knees, pushing the palms of the hands away, engaging through the back side of the body here. And again, noticing the difference, noticing where you feel this stretch. And then exhaling, softening. Once more, inhaling, working a second time. So pushing the palms of the hands away from the body, pushing down and away through the heels of the feet, flexing through the soles of the feet. And releasing, just allowing the arms to soften back down onto the floor, allowing the eyes to close if they're not already. And again, checking in with the body, noticing how the body feels now after those two brief stretches. Gently inhaling as we draw the knees up towards the chest, squeezing the knees in towards the armpits, and releasing. Bringing the hands over the knees, let's create some small circles with the knees, first in one direction, and then back the other way. Working your way back to center, bringing the arms out to shoulder height, engaging through the core, inhaling and aiming to keep the knees together as best we can as we exhale and take the knees down towards the left elbow. Turning the head to look out to the right, feeling the stretch through the body, aiming to continue to keep the knees stacked one on top of the other. And noticing where you feel this stretch. Engaging through the core, inhaling, lifting up. And then exhaling, aiming to keep the knees together as we lower down. And then aiming to release the knees and the legs down to the floor. Turning the head to look away. Aiming to release and soften. Checking in with the shoulders, with the neck and the jaw, making sure they're soft. And then inhaling, engaging the core, keeping the knees together as we lift up. And exhaling once more, going over to the first side. Keeping the knees bent for now. And just softening down. So once more, the head turns to look away from the knees. Noticing that we've brought the spine into a gentle twist here. Inhaling, keeping the knees together, engaging the core, lifting up. And exhaling, taking the knees down to the left. Head turns to look out to the right. Bringing the attention into the breath. Again, noticing the movement of the body with the breath. Noticing the restrictions on the breath because of the position we are in. Inhaling, lifting up. And then last time, exhaling, taking the knees down to the right. And this time, if you would like to, working to straighten through the legs. And turning the head to look away. Noticing the restriction on this side. Feeling the stretch through the body. Noticing where the breath travels. Bending through the knees, inhaling, lifting up, and then exhaling over to the left. Straightening the legs if you did so on the previous side, turning the head to look away. Taking the awareness into the body and into the breath. Sending the breath down into the belly. And then gently bending through the knees. Inhaling, lifting the knees back up to center. And exhaling, let's lower them down to the floor. So feet are a comfortable distance away from the buttocks. You can bring the hands down by your side and see if you can reach the heels. So if you can't, you might like to see if you can bring the feet in a little closer. But again, listening to your body, working within your own limits, working with whatever your body needs and feels good and right to you. Let's inhale, lifting through the pelvis, peeling the spine off the floor. Without moving the feet, working to pull the heels towards your shoulders so that we start to activate through the backs of the legs. Exhaling, rolling the spine back down. Finding a neutral spine. So you'll notice that the lower back perhaps lifts slightly off the floor. Inhaling, once more rolling up. So lifting the pelvis off the floor, rolling up through the spine, lifting up. And then seeing if we can draw the heels towards the shoulders without moving the feet. Feeling that engagement through the backs of the legs. Exhaling, lowering down. And then stepping the feet about 1 foot length down your mat. Inhaling and exhaling. Let's drop the knees down to the right. Head turns to look out to the left. Inhaling, lifting up, lifting through the pelvis, lowering it back down. And exhaling, dropping the knees down to the left. Head turns to look out to the right. Inhaling, bringing yourself back up to center. Once more, lifting through the pelvis, peeling the spine off the floor, lowering back down. And then dropping the knees down to the right. Head turns to look out to the left. If you would like to, lifting your lower leg, so the right leg out from under you, crossing it over the top leg and allowing that body weight, the weight of the right leg, to gently rest on the left, increasing the stretch for you. Pausing here for a moment, allowing the eyes to close. Seeing if you can soften the body with the exhalation. Gently unwrapping the legs, inhaling, coming back up to center. Once more, peeling the spine off the floor, lifting through the pelvis, lowering yourself slowly back down, keeping the control through the core as we lower down, making sure the spine feels long and aligned, and then dropping the knees down to the left. Head turns to look out to the right. And again, if you would like to, lifting the lower leg, so this time the left leg lifts off the floor, crosses over the right leg, and just allowing the sensations of the stretch. Aiming to soften with the breath. Perhaps feeling the breath travel down into the belly as you inhale. And then either sighing the breath out or just imagining yourself sinking down into the floor a little further as you exhale. Slowly unwrapping the legs, drawing the knees back up to center. Once more, just lifting the pelvis and the spine, and then exhaling again, articulating the spine, lowering 1 vertebra at a time, all the way down to the floor. Hugging the knees into the chest, squeezing them in, and releasing. Let's work with our variation of pigeon pose on the back of the body, also sometimes referred to as a figure 4 stretch. So starting with your right leg, lifting the right leg off the floor, bringing the ankle over the knee, and then lifting through the left leg, aiming to reach through, taking hold of the back of the left leg. So you can either take hold under the thigh or you can bend the knee and take hold of the shin. Either option, aiming to then soften yourself back down to the floor. So if you can't reach the leg, that's absolutely okay. You can always just have the hands down and engage the muscles. Or the other option is to do this from a seated position. So you can bring the foot down to the floor, and then you can work to adjust the angle of the upper body to increase the stretch. Engaging through the foot, lifting and lengthening through the spine if you are in a seated position. If you're lying down on the floor, then working to draw the left knee towards the body and the right knee away from the body. Taking 3 more long, slow breaths here. And then on completion of your third breath, gently lowering the left leg back down to the floor, unwrapping the right leg, and then working with the opposite side. So this time lifting through the left leg, bringing the ankle over the thigh, drawing the right leg off the floor, and then reaching through, taking hold of either the back of the thigh or the shin, and then lowering yourself back down to the floor. Checking in with the right thigh, so making sure that the right thigh is approximately vertical, so that the leg, the thigh lifting out of the hip bone is traveling straight up into the sky. The knee is pointing straight up. Gently flexing through the foot, continuing to draw the right knee towards you, and then pushing the left knee gently away from the body. Again, working within whatever your body says its limits are, knowing that that may be different from yesterday, from a month ago. Continuing to breathe, continuing to soften with the exhalation. And then gently releasing down. So lowering the right foot down, bringing the left foot down to the floor. And then let's just flop the knees from one side to the other side. Extending the legs out long, working our way up to a seated position. So our options are either to have the hands in front of the chest or bringing the hands flat to the floor underneath the lower back. From either position, engaging through the core. So drawing the lower rib points in, corseting the waist, lifting up through the pelvic floor, and then keeping that engagement, looking to the toes, pushing the hands either into each other or down into the floor, inhaling and lifting to sit up. Coming around onto all fours. And then let's push our way up into down dog. So tucking the toes under, lifting the knees off the floor, pushing away through the hands, keeping a slight bend in the knees, really working to create length through the spine. So you might find that you need a big bend, or you would like a nice big bend through the knees, so that we can find the natural curves of the spine. So if straightening the legs means that you then end up hunching through the spine, bending the knees, creating that length, feeling a nice long spine as the tailbone lifts up into the sky. And then aiming to keep that length in the spine and seeing if we can work to gently reduce the amount of bend through the knees. Slowly bending one knee and then the other. So working to straighten one leg and then the other. Continuing to keep the length through the spine. Just enjoying those sensations of the stretch. Seeing if we can push both heels a little further down towards the floor. Maintaining that length through the spine. And then looking to the hands, let's see if we can step the left foot all the way through to the hands. And then bringing the right foot forward as well. Folding over, finding a forward fold here. Feeling the head dangling down towards the floor. Working to lengthen through the backs of the legs. Again, it doesn't matter if the hands are on the floor, whether they're dangling towards the floor, perhaps they're on the legs somewhere. Just aiming to soften through the upper body. Working to actively tilt the pelvis to send that tailbone up into the sky, sending the heart down towards the floor. And then from here, inhaling, finding a flat back, engaging through the core, lengthening through the spine. Exhaling, releasing. Inhaling once more, finding a flat back. Exhaling, releasing. And then this time bringing the hands to the hips, rolling back through the shoulders. So feeling the shoulder blades drawing back and down, drawing the shoulders and the elbows towards each other. And then engaging the core, inhaling, lifting up. And then exhaling, releasing the hands, finding ourselves in Tadasana, the pose of the mountain. So feeling the feet firmly pushing down into the floor, lengthening through the spine. Feeling the kneecaps lifting up towards the hips. Engaging gently through the core. Feeling the shoulder blades traveling down the back of the body so that the shoulders are dropping down away from the ears and the chest is open. Lifting and lengthening through the back of the neck, feeling the crown of the head, the center of the head, lifting up into the sky. Gently blinking the eyes open and having a shake out. Let's come into some helicopter swings. So feet are about hip width distance apart. Hands are down by the hips, parallel, and aiming to keep the hands parallel as we swing the body. So sweeping the arms back behind you. Working the arms up towards shoulder height. Visualizing the twist through the spine, continuing to lift the arms up towards the sky. And then starting to lower the arms back down. Until they come all the way to a stop. When they do, returning ourselves to Tadasana once more. So bringing the feet either to hip width distance apart, or perhaps you can bring the feet all the way together. Feeling the feet touching gently one another. Again, lifting up, lengthening through the body, keeping that engagement. And then gently blinking the eyes open, having a shake out. And rolling ourselves down, coming to a seated position, finding butterfly. This is also called bound angle pose. So the feet are bound together, interlacing the fingers, and then wrapping the fingers around the toes, lifting up through the spine, and then inhaling deeply, exhaling as we slowly fold the body forward. Now making sure that we keep length in the spine here. So continuing to lift the body out of the hips, out of the sitting bones and the pelvis. Inhaling, lifting up, and then let's work a second time. Exhaling, folding the body forward. And then if you would like to, you can start to round through the spine, lowering the forehead down towards the floor. We may not get there today. That's the direction we're allowing gravity to move us in. Inhaling, let's lift and lengthen a little. See if you can lift a little further out of the hips. Exhaling, softening down. Inhaling, lifting up. And then let's bring the hands to the ankles, bringing the elbows to the knees and rocking from one side to the other side. Giving the buttock muscles a bit of a massage here. And then coming back to center, working to feather through the knees. So seeing if we can draw the heels of the feet a little closer in towards the pelvis, interlacing the fingers, wrapping the fingers around the toes, and then allowing the eyes to close, continuing to lift and lengthen through the spine, and then allowing the knees to gently bounce up and down. Returning the awareness into the breath. Using the gentle movement of the knees to start to bring balance into the hemispheres of the brain. Allowing the eyes to close, bringing our awareness in to the internal state, the internal scene. Preparing us to work our way into Yoga Mudra. So gently allowing the knees to come to a still point, releasing the fingers, crossing the legs into a comfortable position. And then pulling the padding out from underneath the sitting bones as well. Lengthening through the spine, bringing the hands into position. So forefinger comes into the pad of the thumb, remaining three fingers are outstretched and together, allowing the eyes to close. Resting your awareness, your attention at the heart. And then inhaling, sweeping the arms back in line with the hips, drawing them up to shoulder height, softening through the wrists and the elbows. And exhaling, folding the body forward, crossing the wrists over the lower back, bowing the forehead down towards the floor. Bowing this first time in respect for self. For the connection between your thoughts and your actions. Between your values, your thoughts and your actions. And that we constantly work to bring these in to alignment, creating integrity within ourselves. Bowing in respect for self. Inhaling, lifting the body up, bringing the arms out to shoulder height, softening through the wrists and the elbows. And exhaling, releasing the hands down in line with the hips, sweeping the hands forward, bringing the backs of the hands to rest over the knees. Pausing with the eyes closed. And then working a second time. Inhaling, sweeping the arms back in line with the hips, drawing them up to shoulder height, softening through the wrists and the elbows. Exhaling, folding the body forward, crossing the wrists, lower back, bowing the forehead down towards the floor. Bowing this second time in respect for others. Perhaps bringing to mind someone you admire, you look up to, and noticing what it is about them that you admire. Taking that inquiry one step further to wonder whether this is related to their integrity, that those characteristics that you admire are perhaps related to the alignment between their thoughts, their speech, and their actions. Bowing in respect for others. Inhaling, lifting the body up, bringing the arms out to shoulder height, softening through the wrists and the elbows. And then exhaling, releasing the hands down in line with the hips, sweeping the arms forward and bringing the backs of the hands to rest over the knees. Pausing with the eyes closed. And then working a third and final time. Inhaling, sweeping the arms back, drawing them up to shoulder height, softening. Exhaling, folding the body forward, crossing the wrists over the lower back, bowing the forehead down towards the floor. Bowing this third and final time in respect for all that is. Noticing the connection, the interconnectedness between all things. The ways that we influence the world around us. The ways that the world around us influences us. This natural, continual, cyclical flow. Just like the breath, the inhalation and the exhalation. A continual exchange. Bowing in respect for all that is. Inhaling, lifting the body up, bringing the arms out to shoulder height, softening through the wrists and the elbows. And exhaling, releasing the hands down in line with the hips, sweeping the arms forward and bringing the backs of the hands to rest over the knees. Softening through the elbows, releasing the fingers, keeping the eyes closed for a moment. And just allowing the breath to flow through the body. Gently blinking the eyes open, extending the legs out long. Taking a moment to point and flex through the feet. And then slowly working our way into a spine twist. So bending both knees, traveling them around towards the right. And then lifting and lengthening through the spine, cupping the hands by the hips. And then turning to look out to the right, we inhale, bringing the right arm up to shoulder height. Exhaling, sweeping the arm around, taking hold of the left knee and turning to look out to the side. Inhaling, bringing the left arm up to shoulder height, and then exhaling, sweeping the arm back behind you and resting it down on the floor. Once more, inhaling, lifting and lengthening, exhaling as we twist back behind you. Visualizing the twist running from the base of the spine all the way up into the crown of the head. The yogis say that this is our channel of consciousness. The spine running down the back of the body. Allowing our thoughts, our feelings to travel from the brain into the body and then back from the body up into the brain. Inhaling deeply, and then as we exhale, returning the head back to center, releasing the hands back to starting position, allowing the eyes to close, inhaling deeply, visualizing the breath traveling up that channel of consciousness, that rod of light in the back of the body. And then exhaling the breath out through the body. Gently blinking the eyes open, extending the legs, and then sweeping them all the way around to the other side. Lifting and lengthening through the spine, cupping the hands, and working with the opposite side. So this time let's turn to look out to the left this time. Inhaling, bringing the left arm up to shoulder height, and then exhaling as we sweep the arm around, taking hold of the knee. Turning to look out to the right, and then inhaling, bringing the right arm up to shoulder height. Exhaling, sweeping the arm back behind you, drawing it down to the floor. Inhaling, lifting and lengthening. Exhaling, turning to look out over the back shoulder. Visualizing the twist through the spine. Breathing deeply. Working to have strong, clear connections between the body and the mind. Inhaling, returning the head back to center, releasing the hands back to starting position, allowing the eyes to close. Once more, inhaling a nice deep breath, traveling it from the base of the spine, lifting it all the way up into the crown of the head. And then exhaling, imagining you are sweeping light out through the body. Blinking the eyes open, releasing the legs out long, and then let's roll the body down, coming to lie on the back of the body. So coming to lie all the way down, hugging the knees into the chest, preparing for the wedge. So making sure the spine feels long and aligned, bringing the hands over the knees, running the hands down the shins, and then bringing the feet flat to the floor as close as you comfortably can with the buttocks. Aiming to have the heels in line with the sitting bones, bringing the hands down to the floor, and then inhaling as we lift through the pelvis, peeling the spine off the floor, lifting up through the heels, coming onto the balls of the feet, interlacing the fingers underneath the body, and squeezing the shoulder blades together. From here, releasing the hands, bringing the hands to support either the lower back or the belt or the buttocks. And then if you are comfortable to do so, we can lower the heels of the feet down to the floor. From either position with the heels on the floor or continuing to lift them up, bringing our awareness, our attention into the belly. Inhaling deeply, expanding through the belly, exhaling as you soften. Continuing to lift and lengthen through the pelvis, through the spine. Keeping the legs engaged. And all the while, continuing to breathe deeply into the belly. To release out of this position, we lift the heels back up off the floor, bringing the hands back down to the floor, lowering the heels back to the floor, and then unrolling the spine. Drawing the knees into the chest. And then taking the feet up into the sky, engaging through the core as we slowly, with control, lower the heels of the feet down towards the floor. Turning the palms of the hands to face up towards the sky, allowing the eyes to close. Allowing the breath to travel freely down into the belly. Working to release the bundle of nerves that radiate out from the belly button with that posture, with the wedge. From here, working our way into a seated position. So either bringing the hands to the heart or bringing them flat to the floor, engaging through the core, inhaling and lifting to sit up. Working with Paschimottanasana from a seated position today. So cupping the hands by the hips, fingers point in towards the hips, lifting and lengthening through the spine. And then inhaling, circling the arms up overhead, lifting, lengthening, exhaling, folding the body forward, keeping the length through the spine as we draw the hands down either to the shins, or perhaps we can take hold of the big toes. Inhaling, lifting and lengthening, and then exhaling, seeing if we can fold a little further, taking the heart out towards the toes. Continuing to lift and lengthen through the lower back. So inhaling, growing taller. Exhaling, folding, softening. And then to come out of the position, extending the hands out beyond the toes, engaging through the core, inhaling, lifting. Exhaling, circling the hands down, drawing the knees in, interlacing the fingers, wrapping the hands around the knees and balancing with the feet off the floor. Pausing with the eyes closed, continuing to find length through the spine. And then gently drawing the feet down to the floor. Swinging the legs around and tucking the toes under so that we can find our way into the bandhas. So bandha meaning lift and lock, or energetic lock. So creating that lock with the body. 3 locks we work with. The stomach lock, when we squeeze the stomach muscles back, up and under. The lower lock, so engaging through the pelvic floor, and then the throat lock as we bring the chin down into the chest. So exhaling all of the breath from the body, and then inhaling deeply down into the belly, filling up through the lungs, pausing with full breath, and then exhaling through the mouth, releasing all of the breath from the body, and then sucking the stomach muscles back, up and under, engaging through the pelvic floor, tucking the chin into the chest, pausing with no breath. When you need to breathe, inhaling, lifting up, and exhaling, folding forward. Allowing the belly to soften. Working with the digestive system, the digestive organs. Inhaling, lifting up, tucking the toes under. Working a second time. So exhaling any breath in the body. And then inhaling deeply. Holding. Exhaling through the mouth. Sucking the stomach muscles back, up and under the rib cage. Chin tucks into the chest, engaging through the pelvic floor. Creating a vacuum in the body. When you need to breathe, inhaling, lifting up, exhaling, untucking the toes and lowering down. Softening through the belly, and then preparing to work a third and final time. So not just working with the physical digestion here, but also working with our own sense of sweetness in life. So exhaling all of the breath from the body, inhaling, holding, and then exhaling through the mouth. Sucking the stomach muscles back, up and underneath the rib cage. Chin tucks into the chest, engaging through the pelvic floor. And then with no breath in the body, you might like to create the action of breathing in without letting any air into the body. So expanding through the ribs. When you need to breathe, inhaling, lifting up, exhaling, folding the body forward and lowering yourself all the way down to the floor. Coming to lie on the belly, turning the head to one side. Pausing for a moment here. And then bringing the hands in underneath the thighs. So forearms are just on the outside of the hip points, the hip bones. So we don't need to squash our arms. Bringing the hand in underneath the thighs and then bringing the head to center. So forehead comes down to the floor. Working with our variation of the bow from this position. So this is the locust pose we're working with today. So inhaling, lifting through the head, lifting through the chest, shoulder blades draw back and down, shoulders lift away from the floor, and then inhaling and lifting the feet up into the sky, looking forward, lengthening through the neck, breathing deeply, inhaling, and then let's lower the body down, tucking the chin under, forehead returns to the floor, and then working a second time. So inhaling, lifting through the head, lifting through the chest, drawing the shoulders away from the ears, pausing here, and then with your next inhalation, working to lift the feet off the floor, keeping the legs extended, pushing the hands into the thighs, supporting you, helping you lift a little higher. And then exhaling, lowering the body down, releasing the hands out from under you, bringing them into a comfortable position for a moment. Working our way into either Cobra or Sphinx, listening to the wisdom of your body. So if you would like to work with Cobra, we bring the hands to the outside of the shoulders, forearms come down to the floor, elbows draw in towards the ribs. Alternatively, you can work with the Sphinx. So if there's any lower back issues, working with the Sphinx instead, we bring the hands one hand's length forward, and as you lift up, you stay down on the forearms. So forearms do not lift off the floor. For either position, inhaling, looking forward, lifting through the chest, and then working to lift through the diaphragm and the belly if you're lifting up into the full position. Pushing the heart forward, so working to really extend and lengthen through the heart from either position, whether the forearms are on the floor or off the floor. If they are off the floor, if you are in Cobra, then continuing to keep a gentle bend through the elbows and draw the elbows in towards the body. So we don't want the elbows splayed out to the side. If that means you need to lower down a little bit, then doing so. Inhaling and exhaling, lengthening the spine as we lower down. Returning the forehead to the floor and then extending your right arm up overhead, pushing into the left hand, and rolling yourself over onto the back of the body. Hugging the knees into the chest, gently rocking from side to side. And then returning to center, setting ourselves up here for the shoulder stand or your preferred variation. So remembering that we've always got the option to extend the feet up into the sky and bring the chin into the chest. So we're aiming to create a gentle squeeze, a gentle lock through the throat. If you're working with the full position, bringing the hands down to the floor, taking the feet up into the sky, inhaling, and then exhaling as you take the feet back behind the head. Interlacing the fingers, aiming to squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then bringing the hands to support the back of the body, engaging through the core and inhaling as we lift the feet up overhead. Working to push down through the upper arms. Feeling that as you do so that the toes lift a little further up into the sky. Aiming not to have any pressure on the back of the neck. Releasing down out of this position, we lower the toes back down to the floor. Bringing the hands back down to the floor and then slowly with control, unwinding the spine. Keeping the control through the abdomen as you bring the heels all the way down to the floor. From here, working our way straight into the fish. So bending through the knees, bringing the thumbs together, interlacing or locking the thumbs together, bringing them underneath the body, and then squeezing the shoulder blades together. Unlocking the thumbs so that we're sitting firmly on flat hands, lengthening out through the legs, and then pushing into the elbows, lifting the heart up into the sky, allowing the head to gently drape back behind you. Breathing here. Continuing to work to push the sternum up into the sky. And then exhaling as we lower the body down, lengthening through the spine. As we return back down to the floor, pushing into the heels, releasing the hands out from under you, pausing for a moment with the eyes closed. Noticing how the body feels. And then slowly, gently, working our way up into a seated position. And then spinning over so that we can come to work with the elephant. Tucking the toes under, finding yourself on all fours, and then lifting the tailbone up into the sky. Stepping the feet to mat width distance apart. And then lowering the head down towards the floor. So perhaps keeping that gentle bend in the knees, keeping the length through the spine, and then allowing the head to dangle down between the shoulders. Pausing, noticing how this feels to have the head and the upper body in the reverse position, not suffering the effects of gravity as it usually is. Lifting up through the heels, stepping the feet back together, and then lowering the knees down to the floor, untucking the toes. Sinking the buttocks back to the heels, creating two fists with your hands and resting your forehead on your fists. Pausing. And then inhaling, lifting yourself up, and then coming to lie down on the back of the body in order to find a comfortable position for a few minutes of relaxation. So either having the knees bent and then allowing the knees to gently rest against each other, or you can extend the legs out long. If you've got a blanket handy or some socks, you might like to put them on. And then finding a comfortable position, allowing the eyes to close. And just taking a moment to return our awareness back into the breath. Noticing without judgment any changes in the breath now compared to the beginning of class, perhaps. Again, not trying to change the breath in any way, just aiming to watch it, aiming to observe it. Using the breath to help us soften into relaxation. So with each exhalation, imagining that you are releasing tension from the body. Allowing the hands and the fingers to release. Feeling the arms and the upper body soften. If you need to, making any adjustments so that the chest feels open. And perhaps lengthening through the back of the spine, through the back of the neck. Feeling yourself releasing a little further into the floor as you exhale. Allowing the hips, the buttock muscles and the thighs to soften. With your next exhalation, softening through the calf muscles, through the shins. Softening through the feet, through the ankles. Drawing the awareness up to the crown of the head. Exhaling any tension through the forehead, through the scalp. Feeling the eyes soften deeply into their sockets. Releasing tension through the jaw. And then allowing the tongue to rest gently in your mouth. Feeling yourself melting into the floor. Knowing that the floor is here, gently supporting you. There's nothing you need to hold on to. Just allowing yourself this space, this time to soften. With your next inhalation, bringing the awareness back into the body, back into the breath. Slowly wiggling through the fingers and the toes. And then with your next inhalation, taking the arms up overhead, having a nice big stretch out once more. Slowly rolling over onto one side. Drawing the knees up towards the chest. And then slowly working your way up to a seated position. Bringing the hands to the heart, allowing the eyes to close. Inhaling. And then as we exhale, gently bowing the head forward. Inhaling, lifting the body and the head back up. And then gently releasing the hands, blinking the eyes open. And thank you for practicing with me.